Welcome to the She Self Cares podcast. I'm your host, Bece, aka Bece Bright, and this is the show where we dive deep into the world of self care, personal growth, and empowerment. Each week, we will explore the practices, stories, and strategies that help women like you prioritize their well being and live life to the fullness, body, mind, and soul. If you're ready to embark and embrace your power, transform your life, and thrive in every area, then you are the right place. Let's get started. Hello again, and welcome to another Triple E, or what we call the She Self Care Collective podcast. Today, I'm your host, Bece, aka Bece Bright, and I'm so excited to have a guest on today, Nicola Taylor. And I'm going to just quickly share a quick short bio and before we get started. But I promise you it's going to be an amazing episode. So Nicola Taylor is a South African-born visual arts based in Bongalong, I might say Wrongland in Australia. An intuitive practice bridges somatic drawing, oil painting, performance, and video to explore internal landscapes, consciousness, and external environments. Using a close eye drawing technique, she channels bodily sensation into artworks that reflects both inner and outer world. Trained in the UK, Italy, and South Africa, Nicola has exhibited globally since 2010 with work featured in both private and public collections. Welcome, Nicola.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. I can see your beautiful work behind you. Love it. Love it. Love it. I always start with this, even though it might not be a question that we often, but I always start with what is the essence of Nicola? Who is Nicola?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I am, I think my essence, I'm an artist. I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I am becoming more and more aware of myself in context to nature. And I am the biggest experience of aliveness that I can be.
The biggest experience of aliveness that you can be. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I love that. That is deep, actually. I love that. So let's get started. I mean, I know you are, an artist, and what you do is a bit different from what we're usually familiar with, especially with your close eye drawing technique. I'm like, okay, how do you do that? But anyway, we'll get into all that. But let's start with this. What does creativity means to you beyond hearts and output in terms of productivity? And how does your personality define this in your daily life?
Yeah, I think creativity it's a way to experience the world.
Mm,
It's for me a way to understand the world, to process things. It's a doorway into to navigating experiences. And yeah, feel like that sums it up. Yeah.
yeah. And how does this kind of define you in your daily life? Like, how does this bring your into what you do as a mom? You have 3 young ones. That's a lot.
Yeah.
How does all this in terms of creativity, how does that kind of how does this creativity come out in your daily life?
Yeah. So I think I feel like creativity is always there for us. It's always waiting. It's available in the moment, and it is defined by the unknown for me. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
creativity can't be predetermined. If I often have like a big plan for my paintings, but if I just try and execute that, it just is so flat and boring. It just
Wow.
Yeah, it's more like a copy paste of a cognitive idea than it doesn't
Mm,
contain aliveness.
wow.
Creativity. is it's where you where you meet the moment and where there's space for the magic to kind of come.
Wow. Sorry, I love writing, and I'm writing all these little nuggets. Where you say that again? Say creativity is when you meet what?
Creativity is where you meet the moment.
Where you meet the moment. It's like meditation. It's like mindfulness. Woo,
Yeah,
I love it.
I feel like I loved when you asked me to come and speak to you, and that you are centered around self-care because my creative journey has just exploded since I've taken self-care seriously. It feels like self-care has given me access or helped me understand my own creativity. And can I go into that a bit more, or do you want to ask the next question?
No, that's fine. You can go in a little more. We can flow with it. We'll flow with it.
So, so I feel like a lot of my life, like many of us, I've led my life as a normative feeler. So, like I feel the things that I'm aware of the things I should be feeling. So my whole
Mhm.
life has been run by what I should be feeling in any moment. So
Mhm.
the flow of aliveness is interrupted with what I ought to be doing, what I should be doing, my programming and my construct that I've
Yeah.
been so duty bound to, um, yeah, in terms of what I think I should be doing. And then when I realized that if I just be quiet for a second and allow there to be what actually is there and
Mm,
to listen and to hear what's actually going on inside me as the truth, because that's my experience. Like
yeah.
that's real. And then all the other clutter is quiet and
Mhm.
because it's been met because I'm hearing it. And then there's space for creativity. So
Mm,
it's like I've been living in the resistance of the moment. I had
mm,
like I think for the first like 25 years, even maybe 30 years of my life, and I'm only
mm,
40. So like most of my life, I've been interrupting this flow with
mm,
resistance
mm.
because of what I think I should be, who I think I am, who I should be, what I should be saying.
Yeah.
It's like an interruption, and it
Absolutely.
just kinks and throws off the aliveness off its path. There's just nowhere it can get in because I'm so busy like interrupting. So, so when
I
I
love
validate
that.
what's
Yeah.
actually then creative.
Absolutely. And I love that you say, all of your life, which is most of our lives, not only you. I feel like most of our lives, we've been programmed to this is how we should feel. Like you said, this is how it should work. This is the process of getting to A and Z. And we often interrupt the flow and don't completely um, get intuitive. And I love the word intuitive, like you use it. We're not in touch with our core, ourself, our essence, and we'll often feel stuck because of that. Right.
Yeah.
So when did you first discover this connection between the somatic awareness and creativity for you?
Yeah, I think I I don't know where to start. Um, I've had anxiety, early morning anxiety, a lot of my life. And it's taught me so much. Like the first step with anxiety was that my mind lost all authority when I was feeling anxious. Like any thoughts that I listened to when I came out of that state, or when I went into creativity, I realized that they were all like rubbish. I'm not going to listen to my mind in that headspace. Um, so then what was left was my body. And what is my body saying and what is my body feeling? And I remember very clearly realizing, or the moment I realized, like my body is my best friend. Um, my body is the most supportive thing in my life for me. It carries everything. It deals with all the shit so that I can be present in my daily life. And I was just so struck by this realization that
Yeah.
body is here for me. It's doing everything it's doing to support me. Um,
Mm.
and so I just started listening to it. And I also feel like, the mind, well, thoughts can be quite swampy. Like when you're trying to resolve trauma, it's like a big fat, like tangled maze, right? Whereas the
Yeah.
body is like much more direct. And
Mm.
that's it's based on that belief that the body keeps the score.
Mm.
And the trauma is actually just in every cell on like an energetic coded level. So we don't need to go through the swampy mind to get there if we go straight to the body.
Yeah.
And it's there for us to uncurl and unfurl and experience. And that's what it wants to do. There's an innate body wisdom that is healing itself if you give it a moment. So yeah,
Wow.
that's a big tangent.
I love
um,
that. Absolutely. And I love that you said that. I mean, of course, we all know in terms of holistic way that we talk about all the time in terms of living, body, mind, and soul are all connected. And we can live one and without the other. But I love that you actually kind of focus more on the body because, like you said, you're saying that it's the most supportive thing in our life. It's something that is constant and it's something that will give us a direct answer. I often say that, as you talk about anxiety and often and even depression and stuff like that, is often an invitation to what is going on. It's an invitation to also explore what is going on with us and telling us, okay, this is what is going on. Something is going on. I'm inviting you to explore it. And now it's our job to explore it, but like you said, through our body, through our mind, and and intuitive, however we want to. But it's not always in that negative way that anxiety, but it's often just, hey, listen, something is off. How do we
yeah.
fix it? Right. So I love that, you're talking about just being intuitive and really checking with our body. And the body often have physical symptoms, right, to tell us. So like I said, he's so direct. It's one of the most, I mean, it just almost like a switch right now when you said it, because that is so true. If you have anxiety, it exhibits in the physical realm. You feel something in your body, either your sensation, you have a headache, abdominal discomfort, or some people feel nauseated. Those are like things that your body's telling us, giving us a signal. We just have to listen, but we often don't listen, right? Wow, that's deep. I love that. I absolutely love that. But let's talk about this. You are a close eye drawing. You use close eye drawing technique to tune into your own body's wisdom and your creativity. What led you into this method? And how has it revealed to you what has it revealed to you about your self-care?
What is it? Sorry, repeat that last bit.
So I'll ask the question again. Says, like you said, when we read about you earlier, you talk about, when you use the close eye technique to tune into your own body's wisdom when you're with your creativity. What led you to this method?
Mm.
And what has it revealed to you about your self-care?
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, what has led me there? I think partly what I touched on earlier was just dealing with anxiety, and learning that I can trust the body.
Mm.
Um, and I started with these practices, somatic practices, as a warm up before I started my other work in my studio painting. Um, but then what happened was I spent more and more time on the warm-up practices, and I realized that there was a lot more aliveness in the work that I was doing, the preparatory work, rather than the work that I thought was the actual work afterwards, I started trusting those practices more and more. And I had two beautiful teachers, Janine Anthony and Kath Bull, who's actually Kath Bull South African. Janine is from the US. And they both through the courses I did with them did these different somatic exercises, and I just kind of started developing my own one. And yeah, it's very much about self-validation. Um, and I feel like, with my kids, okay, with kids, if they call mommy,
Yeah.
mama, and it doesn't stop, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't. And then if you go down on their level, you hold their hands, you look at them in the eye, and you hear them, they stop. Like they're not going to carry on shouting mama, right? So
Mm.
same with the anxiety for me, or any feeling. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember who first told me about this, but any emotion, if you are present with it, lasts 90 seconds, like a minute and a half. And after
Mm.
it moves, because emotion is in motion. It's moving.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, right, I can do anything for 90 seconds. Like if this is going to change, if I just listen for 90
Mm.
seconds, I'm there. So I started doing that. It was so hard initially. I just wanted to like crawl out of my own skin and out the door and just like be in someone else's body because somewhere else, so uncomfortable. But just to stay, and then I kind of grew a tolerance. So closed eyes, witnessing my own body experiences and knowing, trusting through doing it a few times that it will work and things will move. And I feel like the validation point, then, yeah, as I was saying earlier, then creativity can, because then I'm quiet, then my mind is quiet, and I've heard what's happening like a child, they're quiet, they feel
Yeah.
seen, and there's no better person. Like also I've spent lots of time in different healing modalities with beautiful therapists, and
Mm.
I've done a lot of talk therapy, but I found myself like I was always trying to be understood and trying to
Mm.
express myself and being aware of like who they are, what layers they're bringing in, what constructs they have, what filters they have. When actually I can witness my own experience
Mm.
so purely. Like
Mm.
it's a matrix of like so many different layers, colors, feelings. Like how on earth I don't need to express and explain that to someone else. It's going to take
Mm.
forever. They can never really get it because they've got their own constructs, right?
Yeah.
But if I listen to myself, I'll be heard perfectly.
Mm. Mm.
And so through that, I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to make art about. Like this is the gold.
Yeah.
And it's original, it's truthful, it's sincere, and it is alive as
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
like there is so much aliveness and richness. And so I started to see my internal body space as like a landscape. Like it was just for me, a whole world inside me. Um, that was just for me.
Mhm. I
And that
love it. Absolutely. And I love it. And I love that you started with saying, emotional is like your emotion is like almost emotion is emotions, and having that a minute and 30 seconds to yourself, right? Because giving yourself that time, again, that moment, that stillness, and whatever the case you want to call it, to be able to process it, which is amazing. But I wanted to ask that as well and say, so how does that feel? I mean, you talk about, but how does that feel in your body as per your own experience? Are they signal, or are they like sensation to tell you when to pause or when to reconnect? Like, how does that feel like for someone listening that doesn't have an idea? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what am I supposed to feel? What does that mean?
Oh, what's so cool about the body is like it's also it's not gonna scream and shout and push its way forward, right?
Mm.
Always there for you, but it's just there, like in kind of it's not passive. I wouldn't say it's passive, but it's just it's not going to scream and shout for attention. I mean, sometimes it does if you get ill, for sure,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
signs are there always, and the messages are there always if you just listen. So, what does it feel like? I kind of include everything because it feels like there are different levels, and even like a tickle in my throat or like a hair on my forehead that's like annoying. Weirdly, that can be a really profound passage in. And then after I felt the tickle and acknowledged the tickle on my forehead, then suddenly I'm aware of this like pulsing ache or like a warmness in my solar plexus. Or so sometimes it's also sometimes like a directional pull. Um, but I kind of include all of it. And
Yeah.
the more I do the exercises and become aware of what my body's feeling without my mind getting in the way,
Yeah.
it kind of I get it gets more nuanced and subtle. I don't know if I'm answering. Does that answer
Yeah,
your question?
yeah, definitely, definitely, absolutely. And it sounds again, and I love the power of the mindfulness of this all, because as we're trying to, like I said, you're trying to kind of get connected with your body in the sense of the sensation and the pathway to get into your creativity. It requires to honor the moment. It requires to be sensitive to the moment. It requires, I guess, discipline to be able to pause and
Mm.
really start feeling your sensation, because every sensation is different. It's not like, you're not like a spiritual leader. It's like the way people think about it, like, well, maybe there's this going to be this wind or whatever, and all of a sudden you just feel like, you get into this real emotion. It's like, it's no woo woo or very, it could be very subtle. It sounds like it could be very subtle. It could be we just have to listen, right? And you just have to give I guess, give ourselves permission to pause and permission to listen to ourselves, and whatever comes, to accept it. Because oftentimes I feel like we're always want something so profound. And it's just like, it's the nuance of things, right? It's not always this profound feeling or this warm sensation, like it says. Sometimes you can get there, but I feel like for me, it's not it's just the mundane things that can actually get me there sometimes, right?
And that they can be as profound as, the wind inside you that fills you, It's
Absolutely. So many women are, because we deal with a lot of women on our platform, and that's what we're trying to get to really cater for women and really get us disconnected from whatever and reconnect with our core soul, our essence. So many women are disconnected from their body. It could be due to stress or trauma, whatever the case may be. How can creative process like yours become a path back home to self for them?
oh, I love that question. So beautiful. Yeah, I think what I love about creativity is that it's so playful. Like
Mm. Mm.
it's so gentle. Like, if you're going into a therapy session to look at your trauma, it's like I want to run like a mile the other way, It's
Wow.
creative. It's so profound, but it's playful. It wants to play with you. Like
Mm.
that is what it wants to do. And it wants to play with the real you, the essence of you. It wants to see you, like what's really alive in you.
Mm.
And it's choosing you, like the most real part of you. That's what it wants. And it's just so validating. Like creativity doesn't come if you have a fancy degree or if who you know, or, how much money you have. It's like, that's, yeah, it's interested in the youest you, inside. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love that you said it's playful. It wants to come out and play. It just want to be, it's simple, it's fluid, it's feminine, it's sexy, it's classic, it's everything that you can think about. It's like, I just want to come out and connect with you. Oof.
And it's healing. It's
Yeah.
self-love.
Yes.
Creativity is self-love. It is self-care. It's acknowledging your essence. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so with your practice and with what you do, especially with your painting, how does that feel? Like I just want to, it's like now I want to get into your soul. how does that feel when you're painting? How do you feel in that moment? Or if you can even describe what it feels when you actually connect with yourself and when you're doing that. Is there a specific way you can describe it or how it felt or you felt before? I know you said it one way, but even just a glimpse of it.
Yeah, yeah. So painting, if I am open to the moment and I am present with myself, it's very much a conversation with the divine. It's
Mm.
it's like and that sounds really hectic, but it's so not. It's so everyday. It's so no, it's so just normal. Like how do I describe it? It's the most unpretentious thing you can do. Like it's
Mm.
it's just it's you're in a flow, and I'm making marks that feel good in my body. Like it's following my body's prompts. Like I know I need to put an exact color and an exact shape in a certain place because like
That's
it feels good. Like
mm.
it feels good. And then it's like it's a back and forth, it's a conversation. I suppose I can answer in another way as well. So when I was 18, I was traveling in Italy and I woke up at 4 a.m. and there were mosquitoes everywhere. And I had to get out of the room. It was one of those like it was an invasion. And so I
Yeah.
went to sunrise over the water. And again, like the most normal everyday feeling, but my body awareness expanded to be part of the whole landscape. So I was looking over the water and it was a spiritual experience. I was in the mountains. But it wasn't like this, oh, it was like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah,
Mm.
what obviously, and I believe that's true for everyone, for all of us, that we are we're connected and we are, yeah, that source energy in everything.
Mm.
And so I haven't had that experience
Yeah.
since. So shame, 20 years ago. I'm like still finding over that one moment. But so what I do with my work is it starts with a somatic drawing and I respond to the body's experience sensations, and it's like note taking, like, okay, oh, you feel that, and I make a note. And
Mm.
then sometimes it's quiet. I'm like, oh, okay, there's something else. And it doesn't need to look exactly like it feels. It's just self-validation, like a witnessing and acknowledging that that's been felt. And then
Mm.
and then I expand that. So it's kind of like a nervous system portrait of my
Okay.
state. And it looks like charcoal marks all over the place. And then I start to use paint and
Mm.
I start painting what I can see outside of, so the external landscape. So it goes from the internal landscape
Uh,
and then the external landscape, and then there's the conversation and how my my awareness of myself, my body, expands and expands to become integrated into my environment. So it's kind of replicating that experience when I was 18, but on canvas.
okay. I love that. I love that. And so let me get the picture clear. So usually with somatic experience, when you're painting with the closed eye, is really getting connected to yourself and you're doing this, however your body, your mind flows and feels, you put this drawing on. First, that's the first step, it seems like. And then when you open your eyes, you're able to see what you've created. And now you now merge it together into how you feel, body, mind, and soul, your environment, to connect with all these feelings and all these emotions and all whatever your environment is saying or the situation is saying, but still being in the moment, still connecting to that feeling of where you started and how you felt. And it could be ocean, it could be sea, it could be plants, it could be whatever, however it comes out.
Exactly.
To fully putting this platter on the table of your whole essence existing at that moment on a canvas. Oof. I love it. That's beautiful.
Good to hear it
That is
back, you know.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So let's talk about women in general because this sounds amazing. It sounds like something that we all should be doing one way or the other. But most of us or most women feel like they have to earn rest or play. Like you would tell some women what we just talked about. It's like, girl, please, it's because you have extra time. That's why you're thinking about doing all these things. Like, who has time for that? you know? But why do you think creativity and self-care often seen as luxury, or is because you have time, or is because you have money, or is because you blah, blah, blah? Instead of it is a necessity, it is something that we have to do. Why do you think so? That people often don't think about it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I was shown that in a brutal way. Like, if I
Mm,
didn't rest and if I didn't restore myself, I couldn't function. Like, simple. So, like, sitting, doing nothing is not doing nothing. It's allowing the soup that is in me to recalibrate so that I can take a step that looks like a step in that from the outside world, you know. It enables me to be in the world without rest, without self-care, without stopping to notice and accept nourishment.
mm,
There's no liveness. You can kind of push and flog yourself if you really want to, but for me, it just
yeah.
stops being like, so it's just a fundamental, like a necessity. And I was doing a calendar for my daughter probably about 3 years ago, and she loves being organized. And I realized, you know, how calendars work. It's like all the to-dos, and then from day to day is the next day. And I was like, nowhere in this graph or in this page is rest represented. It's like the night,
Mm,
you see the night. Like I
I
looked at it,
know.
I was starting to have like heart palpitations. I was like, this is so stressful. Like you can't see the rest period, and it is as big. So I kind of tossed the list and I made it in circles, and I included the night, and suddenly it looked okay. Obviously, I'm an artist, and that is how I, live and
Accessible.
yeah. But it just felt so much more truthful and so much more productive because I could see where the rejuvenation would happen. Um, and yeah, also like living, acknowledging the cycles in a woman's body, acknowledging the seasons, seeing winter as a time that we naturally come into ourselves and we look, there's less light outside, we feel the light inside. And it's an inward time. And so much is happening
Mm,
um, in preparation for the outward expression in summer, you know? Um, so yeah, I feel like it's like saying, you can only have day without night. Like rest and action are they go hand in hand, like they're
yeah,
as if each other and if
yeah,
they enable each other.
absolutely. And even when God created heaven and earth, I mean, he created and he rested, and it created and it makes sure there was a rest day.
Yeah.
I love
There's
that.
only light is dark, there's only activity and action because you've recharged and eaten and breathed and been nourished.
And I love the analogy and how you put it. I guess, like you say, you have this artistic mind, so it might be a bit different from, some of us. But I love how you put it in sense of just looking at the calendar and seeing that it's all about do, 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 and there's no rest or space for rejuvenation. And I wonder perhaps if it's something that we, even as individuals, start thinking of in sense of even how we program our mind, because we often talk about when we wake up in the morning, I have to do this, I have to do that, and we often think about it as day and night, or I'll work throughout the day and only rest at nighttime, rather than even in the process of my doing, there should be a rest time in that process as well. And it doesn't have to mean sleep, but it can mean the 90 seconds of stopping and checking in. It can be the 30 seconds of just a pause and stillness, right? It can be the, I'm going to take a break, just walk to the kitchen or walk to the lunchroom to get a glass of water while I stretch. Like it's just little things that we often don't think about rest that we need to start thinking of and start programming our mind for rejuvenation. And I think the question earlier was, thinking as a luxury. Well, I feel like also self-care, we often think about it as something that we have to have this money to do sometimes. Like I have to be able to go get a spa. Those are beautiful. I love my spa. Or get your nails done, all that, which is amazing, or go on vacation, amazing. But we often don't think about it as little things that we need to incorporate into our life, that moment of stillness, that mindfulness, meditation, in being in tune with ourselves, because it's so refreshing. I can imagine how refreshing it could be to just in your day to day or whatever your busyness to pause and to be and to just breathe and to be reminded of the amazingness of who you are, or all your surroundings, because there's so much going on around it that's so beautiful and so amazing and so magical that we often miss because we're so busy, that we need to kind of pause and say, I need in the midst of this 1 hour of me working, 5 hours of me working, 7 hours of me working, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to rejuvenate my mind, my body, however it comes, because we just don't think about it that way. We often just put work, self-care, instead of it's blended. It's a blended agenda, right? We often don't think about it that way. So that's really a lot. I really love the conversation, how it's kind of going and just putting a bit of different perspective in terms of how we self-care and incorporate that into our daily life. And it doesn't have to be seen as luxury, but like you said, without self-care, we are working on eggshell of breaking down, right? Literally any
Yeah,
moment.
it's just coming back to yourself.
Absolutely. Have you ever felt guilty prioritizing your creative pursuit over productivity or obligation? And how do you move that through that guilt?
Yes. Like, yeah, I mean, look, I'm standing in front of a canvas painting, like, it's really tough to, if I'm in a fierce mind state or like in the kind of obligation, duty bound, I should be adding value, I should be doing more. Yeah, absolutely. It's very challenging to just mix colors, and how do I justify that? Like there are people starving.
Yeah, absolutely.
and and I feel like, yeah, there are different ways I could answer this. But a friend of mine in the UK who's a musician, he was saying like, there's enough music in the world. Like I don't need to make music. And what came to me was so clear. It was like, yes, but how different would your life be if you didn't make music? Like it's not even possible for him not to make music. It's like it's just so much who he is. And if we look at that thing of like the real change that you can make is being the truest to yourself, and um, makes a huge difference to the individual. That's Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like I understand creativity now, in a different way. I feel like I want it for everyone. Um, everybody, that even the people that are doing like the classified really important stuff, like the surgeons and you know, you name it. The creativity can be stopping, looking at the quality of the light. Is there a flickering bit of water outside in a pond that's the light is bouncing off and it's having this dance and it's speaking to me and it's making me feel alive.
Mm.
And yeah, I feel like um, that's everything. It's the little moments are the most profound, and it doesn't have to be a day spa and doesn't have to be a fancy meal that costs the earth. And Yeah, I haven't answered your question though at all. I feel like it's a constant dialogue. Like, um, I have, I understand creativity and self-care in a very different way now, and I also, I just know how important it is. Yeah, but I do need to, consciously read through it sometimes, revalidate. And I was talking about, how the mind can be swampy. It's also very useful to kind of be really logical, and remind myself, like, don't
Yeah,
get lost in this feeling of guilt. Like, you know that this is important, and it's going to make you a better mom, and it's going to make you a better human, and function in a society that's healthy.
yeah,
um
absolutely. But in the process of it, how has your personal care ritual support your creative process?
yeah. I feel like the somatic drawing really, really feeds me and nourishes me. Um, but that's in the studio, like day to day out in the world. Um, if I just stop and if I validate my own feelings enough so that I can be quiet. Um, and what allows me to be quiet is that validation of, like, yes, I can hear, very irritating, or whatever, like, blah, blah, narrative my mind's giving me. I just acknowledge that, and then it quietens down, and then I can look out the window and see the sky, or, like, it can be the quickest. It could be like a split second where I feel connected to the aliveness, and it just sinks deep, like, woof, it anchors me. I'm like, right, there we go, and I come back to myself, and that's so rejuvenating, even just a moment. Um, so yeah, I do that a lot. I do that a lot because I have to, like, have to. I know it's benefit to me, and yeah, it's taken ages, but it's like slowly, incrementally, I'm trusting it more. Um, and I can just see its benefits, and I can see how my kids respond better to me if I've been doing that in the day, and how cranky if I am if I don't. No use to anyone.
Absolutely. I love that. So let me ask you this. What's a creative project or moment that you've poured love into recently and that you can remember? And how does that nourish you, body, mind, and soul that you can think of?
Oh, yeah. So recently I've been holding groups of women, primarily women. Sometimes there are men's groups as well, or mixed, but primarily it's women sitting together in a circle, and we do the somatic process, and it just is so incredible to see what happens if you give yourself space. Like, that's intentional space, of quiet, and um, the transformation that happens. It's just waiting to happen. Like, it's like, someone was telling me recently, like, if you just give the body, if it feels safe enough and rested enough and ready enough, it does the work itself. It will heal. It will kind of click and unfurl and uncurl, on its own. And yeah, so I've really loved, doing that process and practice myself, and then alongside other women. Um, yeah, it's called Felt Sense, and it's just been so beautiful to witness that in others, because I was like, I don't know, it's huge for me, but what would be like open it up to people around me, and it's just, yeah, given me so much joy.
I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. So as we wrap up, I have one more question for you. This is mine. This is like mainly for the listeners, right? So if your creative voice could speak directly to all our listeners and every or anyone that's going to listen today, what would it whisper to them about their worth, their joy, and their self-care?
Wow, wow, I love that. Worth the joy and the self-care. Yeah, I feel like it's always available, always
Mm,
there. It's once as much as you want it, it's looking for you, you know. Um, and then what comes to mind is something I wrote a few years back. Can I read it out?
absolutely.
Um, so it's kind of talking about belonging as synonymous as feeling worthy and feeling the joy of life, right? So it goes, I belong, inherently I belong, and in the way of seeing the world, we all do. It doesn't require any effort or accolade. It's a natural law.
Mm,
So sometimes I feel like I go in and out of knowing that or remembering that I don't
mm,
need anything to be worthy.
yeah,
Nothing. Like if I'm
yeah.
sitting on, I'm as worthy as if I am like, having a PhD published. Like,
Um,
and and there's
mm,
so much peace in that for me. And I hope, I mean, I wish that for everyone to know and feel that, and to trust their body, like the body knows,
yeah,
follow the joy, follow that golden thread that feels good, feels warm, feels soft. Follow that lead. Yeah.
absolutely. This has been absolutely, it's like a call, a little whisper back to self. That's where I feel with this conversation, like just coming back to self again. Because oftentimes, I've talked to a lot of women and we often know, it's not like we don't understand. We know, we have the head knowledge that we need the space, that we need to rest, that we need to do, but we often forget in the business of life, in whatever trauma, whatever the case may be, we have the head knowledge, but the doing part is the problem. Like actually doing it is the problem. And really, this having this conversation to just break it down and just say it doesn't have to be another thing on your agenda. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be something that you plan. It doesn't have to be this big thing again that I have to do. I'm so busy, but it's an invitation to make whatever you're doing right now even easier and better and back to self. And not only just doing, but also really connecting with yourself and finding your joy, your worth, your essence again. And actually, like, it's that we can actually feel good in with ourselves. Like it doesn't have to be an event for us to feel good, because oftentimes we often feel, yes, when I get back home, I will rest. I'll be better. You know, like how about we start thinking about in the midst of this crazy 12-hour shift, I'm still gonna be joyful. I'm still gonna have rest. I'm still going to be with myself. And when I get back home, I will come back with myself and even go deeper into deeper rest, another level of rest, right? And this is like for me, this conversation, this is the invitation to again reminder that we can have rest within ourselves anytime and a call back to home to self. So this has been amazing. Thank you
So
so
good.
much. Thank you. Thank you so much for honoring us. And we are honored to have your voice as part of our She Self-Care Collective. Thank you for sharing your journey, your wisdom, your light with our community.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for listening in and join us again for another um, episode on our She Self-Care Collective. We will see you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the She Self Care Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review to help others find us. Remember, self care is a journey, not a destination, and you deserve every moment of it. Until next time, keep shining and taking care of yourself, body, mind, and soul. You've got this.